Down with the crown! Down with the empire, the British empire! Join the cause! Get to the King's Head in Parliament!
And try and show you the tactics that were used in most Revolutionary War battles that did not have a fort involved in them, based on what research we found. In a minute, you could load and fire your musket potentially 4 times. So that's why the musket was also a lot cheaper. So that's why it's the main military weapon. Now I see down towards our right, or the right for most of us, a couple of horses. You see a couple of people from the British stand, the British little defensive works here, checking out with a telescope. Defensive works. Do they have any artillery pieces so that they can go back and tell their commander? The American side, the congressional forces, because really they are also trained to fight on foot. And kind of generally they're called Washington's eyes and ears because they were able to travel faster, bring him information. They obviously went back and called. The commander must have decided that there are so few British in this little defensive works that it's worth them trying to kick the British out. Now you'll notice pretty much as we get going, most everybody who's out in the field is standing in a straight line. And that's because most of them are using the musket. It's the less accurate weapon, and your advantage is firing frequently. But since it's not really great for target shooting, a field to fire down the field, even though your weapon may not hit the guy you're aiming at, it'll hit the guy next to him. And you want to do is either stop people from charging at you, or just hit enough people that they're unable to continue fighting. Now you see their dragoons now, and what they're doing is really distracting. Because they've got to wait until this infantry gets in place, because the infantry's got to maneuver around to get so it can get its field of fire on the British. So those dragoons were not necessarily trying to kill anybody, they're just distracting the British until the congressional infantry can deploy. See a volley there from the group. They're using a signal flag and also voice commands. That's the Culpeper County Minute Battalion and Logan's Company. They are both local Minutemen or local militia who are not part of the official Continental Army. They just come out when the war's in their neighborhood. And you don't see many casualties yet. That's because muskets you can hit something at 100 yards, but they're most effective about 50 yards away. So individual fighting with a firearm in this time period is much more kind of up close and personal than what we're used to thinking about today. The only way you could get a distance, you could get a distance of maybe 200 yards with a rifle and maybe half a mile with a cannon. So you'll see the militia now has split into 2 groups, Logan's Company and the Culpeper Militant Battalion. And then coming across on the other side of the field, there's a white flag over there, and that's some troops from Massachusetts, Continental troops, meaning they're on federal service. There's some Massachusetts Continentals, some Virginia Continentals, and there's some dismounted dragoons over there as well. The big advantage the British have here is their cannon. They do have some defensive works here, but they haven't had time to finish them or build a fort or anything, so those may be helpful, but they also are a barrier to them maneuvering around very much. So they're kind of stuck in a static position. They are kneeling down, as you'll notice, and that makes them a little bit harder to hit. with that less accurate musket, because usually you try and fire, the people are standing across from you, want to fire like chest high so that you are firing at the broadest part of your target. Okay, now I see some action. The congressional forces are moving in closer and closer. They may be trying to get close enough for a bayonet charge. And of course, the closer they get, the more likely they are to take some casualties. And the closer they get, the harder actually it makes for the cannon to hit them, because the cannon has to keep changing its range and elevation as the situation changes. You'll notice generally they're firing by division. You don't want all the guys on your side to have empty muskets at the same time, because then it's going to take you at least 15 seconds to reload. And if the enemy is close enough, they can use those 15 seconds for a bayonet attack. So you want to always have some of your guys with loaded weapons. You'll see the Minute Battalion here is firing by division. One group can reload while the other group is firing. It enables you to keep a more constant flow down the field. I'm going to say the British appear to be a bit outnumbered here, but the other thing is the congressional forces don't have as good a supply line. All the soldiers are volunteers, whereas every redcoat that you see here that's his career. He's a professional soldier. He's well trained. He's supplied by the largest empire in the world in the 18th century. So you would certainly think they would win. Now we see the loyalists coming out. Those are Americans fighting other Americans, and they have, as you can see, they seem to be, the British regulars they're doing their job. The loyalists, those Americans who think that these rebels over here are making a big mistake, have a lot of enthusiasm, but maybe not so much training. And so they tried to get out there and do a bayonet charge too soon. They were too far away, and so they couldn't get in with the bayonet charge before the other side could get reloaded and fire. So a lot of this is going to depend, the outcome of this, on the level of experience among the congressional troops. Actually, the Minute Battalion and the Logan's Company over there, the local militia, are doing very well. Sometimes their training is so lacking and their experience is lacking, and they get too afraid and run away under fire. But they're actually doing very well. So I would say they've seen some action before at some point here. The Continental troops are showing good discipline as well. One of the problems with the Continental Army is that enlistment periods were very short, and guys would go home to like plant crops or harvest crops, and so you never knew how experienced the people were in either militia groups on the congressional side or in Continental troops, Continental being federally funded and sponsored troops. And while they seem to be very well disciplined, I'm thinking maybe they're a little short on ammunition, because they did pull back there just enough to encourage the commander of the British force to decide to come out from the defensive works, thinking they'd have a better chance to press against those congressional troops, and it also gives them the advantage of being out in the field where they can do a bayonet attack. out of commission there. I'm thinking we're out on a frontier like this. Even the British had trouble with supply lines, so I'm thinking they're just out of ammunition for the cannon. And you can see the cannon crew now is out on the field acting as infantry. And you'll see there's a bayonet charge there. That may not look very scary if you're standing behind it, but I've been out on the field when with the bayonet charge coming at me, and I have to say that is really a scary sight. This solid kind of red wall coming at you with fixed bayonets is enough to make you think twice about why they're out there. And actually, when you think about it, you know, without any manufacturing here in the colonies and everybody being a volunteer soldier on the congressional side, fighting against the huge British Empire and pretty much primarily professionally trained soldiers, it's a wonder that we ever won the American Revolution. We see some casualties out there. They will be taken care of by the victorious side and then kept as prisoners of war. It's a little hard to see from where I am, but it looks like perhaps most of the congressional troops have been forced off the field. They didn't suffer huge number of casualties, all certainly more than the British, but I think they realized that once the British came out from behind the breastworks that there were enough of them that they weren't going to be able to prevail, and I think they probably decided to do the safer thing, get some reinforcements, come back another day, rather than wasting a lot of lives and ammunition on an objective that proved a little too difficult to take.
Fear not, there will be another day. Fear not.